Good evening and welcome to the meeting of Melton Borough Council. Evacuation procedures. In the event of having to evacuate the council chambers, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park nearest the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. Public recording of meeting. There is legislation that allows the public to film, record and use social media at the council meeting. This must not disrupt the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of the public seating area. Please switch mobile phones to silent. Microphones. Councillors and officers are reminded to use the microphones when speaking for the benefit of all present. Electric voting. Tonight we'll be using the electronic voting system. This means that votes will be carried out via the microphone handset. When voting is taking place, you will be given 3 options: yes, abstain, and no. There will be 3 buttons flashing beneath the options. When the voting is open, please select the corresponding button in order to register your vote. I now refer to Mary Barr for the prayers.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. As you're probably aware, in the church calendar at the moment, we are in the season of Lent, running up to Good Friday and Easter. And one of the things we're encouraged to do during this season is, as well as to praying honestly about our struggles, to give thanks for what is good. So I'm going to begin in our prayer this evening by giving thanks. Lord God, we do give you thanks for the freedom and safety in which we live, for justice and order in our society, for standards of truth and honour, and for all our rights and privileges. This evening we are especially grateful for the life of the town of Melton Mowbray and the surrounding villages, and for all who share in our community's activities. We give thanks and pray for the work of our mayor and those elected to serve as councillors, and for the council staff who support them in serving this locality. We pray that all may exercise wisely and faithfully the authority entrusted to them, making good use of financial and other resources to promote the welfare of all people and the common good, that everyone may live together in peace and harmony. This we pray in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Hope you have a good meeting. I have to go on to another one myself. I'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Item number 1, apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Chubb, Frere, Pritchett and Sharp. Can any member wishing to give apologies for another member indicate so by raising their hand? I can confirm we have 24 members present. Item number 2, to confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 12th of February 2026. Owing to an accidental omission, in addition, paper has been provided for each member setting out the full text that should have been included in item 5. I propose the minutes to be moved. Do I have a proposer? Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Do any members have any comments to make in relation to the accuracy of the meeting? Councillor Gore.
Thank you. The surprise to everyone. Yeah, it's on the declarations of interest. Where it says about Councillor Gordon declared a disclosable pecuniary interest in relation to minute number C075, as she is a tenant of a council-owned property, which is okay. And her sister owns a property. If you can add to that she rents out, but also it's also a different interest on a different topic. So it's not on the same C075. I just thought I'd mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. So noted. Anybody else wishing to make any comments? We will proceed to the vote. (23 for and 1 abstention). Thank you. Item number 3, declaration of interest. If any member would like to indicate that they have an interest to declare, would they please do so by raising their hand? Councillor Thwaite.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regard to the declarations of interest, may I ask the monitoring officer for clarification on the apparent dispensation that allows councillors to debate and vote on the agenda 9 tonight, the council tax, because we all have a pecuniary interest in that. Does it relate only to that pecuniary interest, or is it a general dispensation covering the defined other interests than the declarable interests?
Could you refer me to the specific dispensation that you're referring to?
Well, I can't find an actual dispensation, but the fact that we're all here to vote on the council tax, which is a pecuniary interest for everybody here, I assume there is a dispensation. If there's not, then I assume we can't vote.
The legislation is referred to in the report, Section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992, which regulates the rights of members to vote. And the only occasion on which they cannot do so is if they're in arrears with their council tax. And my understanding is there is no one in that situation tonight.
Okay, so it doesn't cover the other interests, which is normally the case.
The council tax liability is not a pecuniary interest.
Just that answer.
No, because I wasn't asking about the pecuniary interest. I was talking about the other interests, which are defined under the declared interests. The interests that are normally I'm barred from talking about because they involve costs or anything to do with Graham Court.
No.
I just need to make sure so that I'm actually okay.
This is regulated by statute, as I said. It's referred to in the report itself, and it's Section 106 Local Government Finance Act 1992, and that sets the only limitations on whether you can vote. So as long as you're not in arrears, you can vote.
Thank you. Another registered interest in respect of Councillor Joe Olsen is taken on being on record for the matter which relates to Leicestershire County Council. Item number 4, I will now make Mayor's announcement. Since the last meeting, I've been to 3 different events, and they were brilliant. One of the last one was a curry evening, which ended up for a charity fund for them. And it was absolutely amazing to see the integration of so many different communities come together to raise money for a charity. 2 o'clock. That was actually at the curry dinner, which raised money for a charity. One of the other ones was a civic service, which was absolutely brilliant as well. I will now pass item 5 to the leader's announcement.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. I thought as there wasn't much on the agenda tonight, I'd make my announcements a bit longer. That's all right, is it? Madam Mayor, this week we held the Rural Area Liaison Forum of the year, the first one in Easton, covering 16 parish councils. And I'd like to express my thanks to all who attended and organised the event. And there's a reminder that the next forum will be next Monday, 2nd of March, commencing at 6 p.m. in Edmundthorpe Social Club, covering the remaining 15 parishes. Madam Mayor, after we have set the Melton Small Council tax increase this evening, we will, as usual, be adding the much larger County Council and police precepts, together with those of the fire service and some 31 parishes. Then we will be issuing an annual tax demand as normal. At the same time, residents will receive 2 information leaflets from Melton Borough Council. The second one will include an opportunity for each household to express an opinion about the methods of paying for car parking, and secondly, the idea of a parish council for the town of Melton Mowbray. Now, it's important to emphasise that neither of these form part of any statutory consultation, but the answers we will receive will certainly inform discussion within this council and within the Cabinet. There will also be a simple reminder and a link to the government's consultation on the options for the new unitary councils under LGR, and a small reminder that for us, a government decision will be made probably around July, with parliamentary approval in the autumn. At our last council meeting, I announced that we would be setting up an arrangement within our existing constitution to enable all members to take part in briefing about and expressing opinions relating to the transmission to the new local government regime once we know what that will be. I'm now expecting the first workshop type forum to take place sometime after the annual meeting in May. So we've got time to sort of discuss how we might want to run that. Now, Councillor Pat Cumbers and I have met with officers to scope some of her new work on MBC's global policies, policy refresh, and their relevance to the transmission during LGR. We will report on this work at the first of the All Members Forum. Madam Mayor, my colleague Councillor Butcher has a public question on SMEs this evening and the relationship with universities. Now, this forms part of a much bigger piece of work which she leads on within the Cabinet, and I'm sure that she will join with me to thank the regeneration team and the planning colleagues for all their efforts. Events during January and February have included another business forum with over 40 attendees. This one focused on the bid reballot later this year, reviews of the very successful Christmas 2025 switch on and everything around it with our partners, and the accessibility and the Purple Pound. And of course, there was an opportunity for networking. Also, over 30 people attended the Food and Drink Network with its relevance, special relevance to the stockyard development, which I can say is gathering pace. This week, we attended another investor roundtable event, and I was very impressed by the positivity in the room and the generous thanks given for the help that this council is contributing to assist business growth. It was attended by old Meltonians and new investors, and naturally there was discussion around opportunities and improvements needed going forward, and we took those on board. Now, in parallel with the economic regeneration, we are pursuing several streams of work around heritage, culture and tourism, which all, of course, interlink with health and well-being, social activity and indeed business opportunity. These will come more into view as the year rolls by. Now, Madam Mayor, all this hope for future and ambition for better things is, of course, overshadowed by the sad for sale sign outside Melton College campus and our precious theatre. The whole site is on sale for £3.5 million, and together with the original £2 million targeted to refurbish and repair the theatre, this is a formidable sum for anybody to raise, commercial or ACV alike. For this council to contemplate taking on this liability would add the equivalent, in my estimation, which I have corroborated, of nearly 8% to the gross annual council tax bill. It would add circa 5% to the council's net budget and increase this year's modest increase in council tax a further fourfold. And all of that, which services capital debt, is before we even think about the cost of subsidising the running costs year to year. Into this melting pot has been poured the whole issue of SEND services, and rightly so, in my opinion. Now, I've done everything I can to urge and cajole our partners, from cabinet ministers right across to the new county council leadership team. Before Christmas, there was much blather on the social media, in the press, and assertions by others that they had a cunning plan. But I'm afraid Blackadder is not showing up in this theatre. So I now hope that people can understand the wisdom of our general approach to opening up our stockyard project to creatively provide some alternative in the area of culture and education. For my part, I will continue to fight on. I can do no other.
Thank you. Item number 6, public question. One question has been received by Miss Kelly Davis. She's not here, so I will read the question out. In response to the question that Councillor Brown submitted as part of the members' question time, full council 12th of February, the portfolio holder for Economic Growth, Town Centre and Leisure states that the council has worked with local university to host events designed to support SMEs in the borough area. Could the portfolio holder clarify what university the council has worked with and what events have taken place that will be taking place as a result of this collaboration? To assist the portfolio holder, the wording I refer to is as follows. The council has worked with local universities to host events designed to support SMEs in the borough area. I will now invite the portfolio holder of Economic Growth, Town Centre, Leisure, Councillor Butcher, to provide the response.
Thank you for your question. In September 2025, the council worked in partnership with the University of Leicester to host a Greener Futures event at Parkside. The free session, delivered by Dr. Sandra Lee from the university's business school, provided an insight into the fully funded support and resources available to Leicestershire businesses. The advisory service offered substantial guidance, but built on the extensive experience of experts in supporting businesses and grounded in robust research data. The service addressed businesses' requests for a comprehensive one-stop solution that covered every aspect of the sustainability journey. As part of this wider engagement with universities, I have participated in interviews with 2 university students studying media, supporting their academic work and providing an insight into the council's approach. In November 2025, the council collaborated with De Montfort University to host an event at Parkside, which promoted the Creative Growth Programme. The free session was delivered by the university's Enterprise and Business Service Directive and was funded by the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport. The workshop design made simple, unlocking Canva for your business was open to all sectors, but predominantly targeted to the creative business in the area. The council routinely promotes business and skill support offered by local universities to enhance opportunities for local businesses. This partnership working will continue, and as regeneration team is currently coordinating with the event for this 2026-2027.
Thank you, Councillor Butcher. As Ms Debbie is not here, there won't be any supplementary questions. We move on to item number 7. A question has been received from Councillor Higgins in relation to the flooding issue on the Somerby ward. The question and written response has been tabled and will be asked questionnaire if they would like to ask a supplementary question. In accordance with the procedure, may I remind questionnaires that the supplementary question must arise directly out of the original question or the reply. Councillor Higgins, in relation with the response of your question, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And as pointed just before the meeting, I've got a potential point of order, but I will talk that through, and thank you for giving me the time on that. The supplementary question I will deal with first. Residents will not accept a reply that amounts to flooding is complex and residents should do more. So please answer this directly. If the Environment Agency does not comment on Flood Zone 2, the applicant hasn't modelled where displaced water goes beyond the site boundary, on what basis is Melton Borough Council and the Planning Authority satisfied other properties won't be put at greater risk? And where is the LLFA, the lead flood authority, on drafting a strategy to support this? Helpful. I'm not asking for blame. I'm asking for the evidence standard this council will insist on so residents can have the confidence we're not exploring flood risk. And as the point I raised just before the meeting, and again, thank you, Madam Mayor, the question asked of the leader was what steps was Melton Borough Council taking across the 4 specific areas: leadership, advocacy, the LLFA, the Environment Agency and government, consistent professional engagement with residents, pressing for fair recognition and resourcing and reassurance through tangible outcomes. The response sets out general responsibilities of other bodies and general advice to residents, but it does not address what this council has done or will do, nor does it provide tangible actions, outcomes, timescales or accountability. Could you, Madam Mayor, please rule whether the question has been answered as asked, and if not, request that a substantive response addressing the 4 parts I asked is provided in writing and circulated to members. Thank you.
Councillor Arnold, would you like to respond, please?
Well, I will respond in part, but I'm very happy to give a much more substantive answer at a later date, and indeed to meet with Councillor Higgins to discuss the substantive issues. Now, for my part, I've been as frustrated as he is about the inability of this council to move the stone, really, because we have very little powers in this and we are left to cajoling, arguing the case and lobbying. Now, for my part, I've met with the water authorities, that's to say the suppliers of water and the removers of sewage twice, and asked them to be more proactive in making responses to questions from us as a planning authority. And they did undertake to review some of the more recent cases which I brought to their notice. I've met with the EA and I've written to them asking them very strongly to deal with certain specific measures. And as I pointed out last time in my leaders' announcements, I had met quite recently with the portfolio holder for flooding, effectively the political LFA, and made my views known that I was a bit concerned that while I understood other parts of the county had substantially worse conditions than we do, nevertheless, when one house is flooded out completely in our community, that's 100% pain. I've also written on another occasion to ask for the county council, and this was under the previous administration, to agree with us that we should waive council tax. Unfortunately, they declined that. And of course, we can't take on their the indebtedness of the council tax, and I think that would be a good thing. There are a number of other things I could point to, but in view of the time and the importance of discussing this at greater length, I will defer to a more fuller written response, which it deserves.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We now move to item 6. There has been no motion of notice to hear this evening, so we move straight on to item number 9. In accordance with the regulations, the vote of these items will be a recorded vote. The recorded vote will be taken from the electronic voting system. As a reminder to members, no member other than the mover of the motion may speak more than once on each motion. I invite the portfolio holder for Corporation Finance, Property and Resources, Councillor Cox, to present a report of council tax setting for 26-27.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whilst this council set its budget and council tax levels at the meeting held on the 12th of February 2026, Melton Borough Council, as the billing authority, is required to formally note the various council tax calculations for the forthcoming financial year, which includes the council tax set by the parishes and other preceptors. Whilst the average increase in council tax for this council is 2.99%, the average for the whole area, when all of the precepts are included, is 3.36%, and that is shown in paragraph 9.1. This table clearly shows that this council has set one of the lowest overall average council tax out of all categories of authorities, with district councils being one of the most restricted in terms of the increase that we can levy. Individual amounts for each band and each area is set out in Appendix C. For Melton, the average general fund increase in a Band E property equates to 13.69 pence per week. Following approval this evening, the hard work will begin for the Finance and Revenues team as they prepare for the annual bills to be produced. We recognise that there may be many in our community that will need support to pay their bills, and we would encourage them to seek that support from the teams we have available. And therefore, I'm happy to move the report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? I will now open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate where they wish to speak. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, obviously the Conservative group will support the proposal tonight, so we'll be going with you. The rationale behind that is we had the debate on the budget. To do otherwise isn't going to allow you to have a balanced budget if it went any other way. So happy to support that, and we will all vote in that way. I just want to clarify 2 things from the last meeting, please, if I can, through you, Madam Mayor. I know we've spoke about it. From a finance point of view, there was the portfolio holder made a comment about the King Street building, saying the last administration didn't know what we did £550,000 with. Can I just put on the record that it actually wasn't the last administration who secured that money? It was actually a Labour minority run council by Councillor Callaghan back in 1999. That work was finished in 2002, 2003, which put myself, Councillor Holmes, Councillor Cumbers, I'm sure you remember that as well. And over the intervening years, obviously I have been an officer of the council. I wasn't involved directly in the building, but there is officers in the council will know that there has been money invested in that property. It had various different uses due to changes, due to funding reductions, etc., from the then Labour government and then subsequently the Conservative government later on, which all administration, well, it was then a Conservative administration from 2003 had to do. So no argument about lack of funding, but just where you want to put on the record, it wasn't the last administration legally. Secondly, there was a comment made in relation to how badly the council had left, the Conservative council had left the council reserves in 2003. Obviously, only prudent for me to go back and look at that and clarify it. But actually, if you look at the records, yes, the revenue reserves are down a little bit in half. However, we look at the housing revenue account. we left 8.2 million, there's 3.3 million there now. In the capital reserves, we left 4.2 million, there's 1.5 million. So in allocated, non-allocated reserves in 2023, the Conservatives left 19 million. There's now 12 million. I know there's reasons for that, but I just want to put on the record, and you yourself, Councillor, did say when you took over in 2023, we didn't leave it in that bad a state. We have pressures from both the previous government and the current government as well, but I just wanted to put that record straight. Thank you.
Councillor Threatt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can only really talk about the Melton Borough Council element of this charge, because the other charges we have no real control over. And in that respect, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Cox and the Director of Corporate Services for their overall handling of the budgets in a challenging financial environment. However, one of the first things I learned in my 40 years of delivering IT systems and organisational change was the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. And by that, what I mean is, if the data you're using isn't good, the answer isn't trustworthy or may not be good. As many members will have been bored by for the last year or so, I've been seeking clarification on a very small amount of operating numbers relating to my favourite subject, Gretton Court. After many members' questions and other requests over 9 months, I finally received a single spreadsheet, which took me 9 months. When discussing these figures with the Assistant Director for Housing, supported by Councillor Carter, Councillor Allnutt and Councillor Glancy, it was immediately evident that there were mistakes that had been present for several years and misrepresented the burden that needed to be met by the residents. There was then no further discussion before these figures were used as part of the new budget and new increased charges published by the Director for Housing and Communities. I immediately objected to these at the time, but no further action or full explanation has been given. Now, I know these only relate to a very small number in the general terms of the numbers this evening, but it is the only area, after numerous tortuous attempts to do a deep dive on the figures, that I have managed to achieve. If I'd been allowed to participate in the previous council meeting during the budget, I would have raised those publicly at that time. So while I do not see it as a reason to vote against this agenda item tonight, it does mean that I will abstain, as I cannot be confident of the numbers it uses as a base for the parts relating to Melton Borough Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is seeking really for clarification by the Director of Corporate Services, and I know in the past we've been over this. One thing I still struggle to understand is a table that's on page 5, on page 31, 522 section. It's the Band D equivalence table, and I can see all the figures there. What I don't understand is why. I can understand places like Bottisford have a Band D equivalent a bit bigger, but why is the area of Fulham urban district of Melton Mowbray 10,000, which is massively anomalous to all the other figures? And yet if we go over the page to page 33, we can see that comes back into line with others. It just seems a bit strange, and I'm sure that this can be explained to us, but if it would be simply explained, that would be brilliant. Thank you.
Sorry, councillor. So is it a fundamental, you don't understand what a Band D equivalent is, or is
I know what a Band D equivalent is. I don't understand why for Melton Mowbray it's £10,000 and for Bottisford it's 1,500.
that, well,
Is it
it's not
Band-
pounds, it's the number of Band D equivalents, but for
Right.
Melton Mowbray, it's the area of the town boundary. So
Right.
that unparished area that is the town
I
area.
see what you mean. Yes, I've got it now. So
Okay.
it's the number of properties, not
It's a number of Band D equivalents, not the number of properties. So if you've got something in the highest band, then that would equate to 2 Band Ds. But it also, to add to the complications, it's not just that the band that they're in, it would be adjusted for single person discount for etc., all that sort of thing as well, and those on council tax support.
I suppose that, yeah, I understand now. It looks like a pounds, and it's not, is it? So you were saying in, for instance, Garthorpe, the 34.16 Band D equivalent properties.
Councillor Carter.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I've just got to follow on from what Councillor Twitty said. I've got to agree with him. I'm not happy about these figures with Gretton Court, to be honest with you. We've had meetings and meetings, and I just feel that we've been ignored as councillors, and I'm not happy at all. Thank you very much.
Can I just remind us, it's about the council tax tonight?
It is about the council tax, Madam Mayor, and I will not stray beyond what has already been discussed. With reference to reserves, and without going into detail, I think those figures which we've heard are not quite right either, but it clearly needs further elaboration, and I think a written response on that is reasonable. With respect to King Street, which we must refer to as he's referred to it, the previous administration you referred to is 20 years ago. And the key point about the King Street building is that the administration opposite was in power for 20 years. And during that period, the building had gone downhill, shall we say. And there had been several traders in there. So it's a long story of poor attention to detail. If a Labour administration had previously got it wrong as well, I'm very happy to stand up to that and say so. I don't believe in my country right or wrong, and I don't believe in my party right or wrong. I'm a rebel, and I will stand up for the truth every day of the week. With respect to the other points that were raised, I understand the arguments, but they're not for now, I suspect. But I think that along with Councillor Carter, I think that's something we should give more attention to detail on as we move forward.
Councillor Higgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the portfolio holder for the presentation. As the leader chose the word rebel, I thought that was quite good, because I think most people here are principled on serving the public and speaking truth to power. And government has tended, central government has tended to fail local government of all the tiers that we're precepting and we're deciding the council tax bills. The public should know, and as we said at the last council tax meeting for this council, the government has given us an effective 5% cut. And when the government is going off on the world stage to hand off British sovereign territory and then lease it back for £101 million, local government could do a lot with that, an absolute lot with that. It's hundreds of thousands of pounds which it would affect to this council on an annual basis. It's absolutely scandalous that the government is doing this. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will be voting for this, because if we don't vote for it, as I say probably every year, we don't get any council tax bills. So we're sort of forced to do it. And at what Councillor Thwaites was asking at the beginning of the meeting, I think the government wants us to vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to record that I do agree with Councillor Thwaites and your a proposition that it is about the council tax and not about anything else. These numbers regarding Gretton Court do go into the council tax and makes the council tax up. So I foresee that is relevant, and I'll be hard dissuaded against that. However, having said that, I do believe I won't be standing here had we took a better opinion on how we engage with councillors at the time these issues are raised, So therefore, these matters can be sorted out. Fortunately for me, I was asked to look at the numbers, and you all know my power to numbers, maybe or maybe not, I don't know. However, I did look at the numbers, and clearly there are errors. The errors are not substantial, and the errors are not really material, but they're errors. And I think these errors could have been teased out, and everyone would have gone away, if not completely happy. Their views could have been coincided. However, because it's not material, I don't really have a problem with it. However, because the balance is not correct, I believe it's not correct, I can't vote for this tonight, and I shall abstain. Thank you.
I'll bring Dawn into this, please.
Just to clarify that the Gretton Court service charges are not relevant to council tax. They are in regard to the housing revenue account, which is not on the agenda this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Based on the information that's just come forward, the Conservative group will be abstaining as well on this matter. Thank you.
Does anybody else wishing to speak? Can I go back?
Oh, sorry, Marilyn.
Marilyn.
Thank you. Yes, I do think for the council tax, because I do believe we've got to pass this through tonight, because if everything's gone through, and as they've already said, as Dawn has already said, that to do with Gretton Court is a separate issue. And I really truly believe that you should each have a discussion now, perhaps a bit of time for them to discuss it before we come to the vote separately with their own groups, and to come to some sort of an agreement, because I do think we have to listen to Dawn on this. Thank you.
Councillor Cox, would you like to speak?
Yes, I would. I'd just like to remind all members that one of the issues that's being raised tonight in relation to Gretton Court actually features as services and charges. It is not relevant to council tax, but I'm sure that somebody who worked within the finance department, Councillor Child, should be fully aware of that. So in relation to the information that's come forward about services and charges which bear no relevance to the council tax, I find it strange that the opposition would then suddenly abstain in relation to council tax. However, in relation to just a few points, I'm happy to provide further detail around the reserves, but I do want to highlight three particular areas. The capital reserves have reduced. In particular, they've reduced in relation to a plan, part of which was from 2023, which was the previous administration's capital spend plan. So I'm fully aware that the reserves went down. They went down because we honoured the Conservatives' budget of 2023. Then the HRA has followed a business plan. That business plan was developed by colleagues across the floor. When we came in as an administration, we actually saw the value of investing in our housing stock. There was no contentiousness on our side. We thought it was really valuable, the work that had been done, and that the 10-year business plan was the best way to go. You will be fully aware of where we are in that business cycle, and that reserves are at the minute at their lowest, with a view to coming back up in 28-29. Lastly, in relation to the corporate reserves, we've actually increased them by 1.65 million. That's how much we've done. They will reach 3.5 million by the end of March, and that's because we've got an extra 650,000 coming in from the Business Rates Equalisation Fund. Now, the reason we've done that, and this is where I'll agree with another colleague who perhaps has a very different view to me, is unfortunately we have been let down by the central government, and I'm sure for many years colleagues across the floor, as they introduced austerity across this council for 14 years probably felt let down at times in terms of council tax. So a 5% cut to a small authority like us is massive. And then if you compound that with the food waste that we were expected to deliver, it's unsustainable. I thank the leader who made numerous representations to central government on this matter, but it is clear that LGR is the way they are going, and the fact that we've saved all this money and created a healthy reserve over the last few years doesn't give us the opportunity for any of us in this chamber to do many of the things we would like to do across our authority. Instead, our council tax is to keep basic services going. And that's why I encourage you all to vote tonight to get the council tax through so we can just maintain the services that we are delivering. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Just to provide a point of clarification, particularly responding to Councillor Gordon's point, just to remind members, obviously, however you wish to choose is a matter for yourselves. An abstention is not a negative vote, it's simply not contributing to the vote. So long as more votes are cast in favour of the resolution as opposed to against, the council will set a council tax this evening. Obviously, if that doesn't happen, then we'd have to reconvene the meeting because we have a legal duty to set council tax before the 11th of March. So just wanted to provide that clarification, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Does anybody else wishing to speak?
That was the end of the debate now.
Yeah. Right, in that case, we go to the vote. Please use the electric voting system in front of you to choose either for, against, abstain. So that's 13-4, 11 abstention, and 9 against.
None against.
None against. So that's carried. Right. This is the end of the meeting. But before I finish, I need to draw your attention that Dawn's got the budget sheet for any councillor that wishes to have one. Just at the end, go to Dawn and pick one up, please. Thank you. And I finished the meeting at 19:18.
Members, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Mayor of the Borough of Melton, Councillor Siggy Atherton.